Is it recording?
All right. Yep, we're recording.
All right, we're back for our second attempt.
That's right. BJ's. BJ?
The theater.
The theater BJ's. Yes.
That's right. Well, I think it was a relatively... Actually, I felt like a relatively slow news week for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was too.
But there were a couple bangers. So you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, the big one for me, the big one is that the Emmys were on Sunday. Yeah. So I think a couple of things that were interesting about that. The first is what we can talk about is award shows have just like sucked ratings wise for a long time, and they've been just going like steadily down.
Yep.
And I think that's just a general, like, people don't really care about celebrities as much as they used to.
It's less of an entertaining thing to watch and more of just like celebrities giving themselves a pat on the back and then just kind of rewarding themselves every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they still need
we
to
don't
do
need to
it.
see that anymore.
No. It's not for the audiences anymore. Like I feel like it was kind of for both. Like it was supposed to be entertaining, but then it was also supposed to be, you need these awards because that's how creatives distinguish themselves if they want to do a new project. So like if you're Academy Award nominated or you're Emmy nominated, you can put that on your resume. And so if you go to HBO the show and you say I was nominated or I won an Emmy, they're more likely to listen to you or they're more likely to invest in your project. So like the creative community needs it, but it used to be that audiences actually cared a lot more about celebrities because there just wasn't as much content. So the content people did watch, like they became a lot more emotionally invested in the celebrities.
Yeah.
And there wasn't as many alternative entertainment forms.
They probably didn't see the celebrities as much before.
That too.
Right? But then now you're kind of being...
Yeah.
With social media, you're seeing them.
You see them all the time.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, why see them at an award show?
It's not rare anymore. Yeah.
Right. And then they're also just not being entertaining. Like I feel like there used to be musical performances and like a comedian would usually host, so it'd be kind of a stand-up routine too. And now it's just like not. They're like,
well nowadays
no,
if they have a comedian to host, more likely than not they'll get canceled before they're ready to host.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's just the trend.
The Ricky Gervais. Yeah. Have you seen? That's like the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like it was incredible. The one at the Golden Globes like 2 years ago.
Yeah. He was definitely like drunk for that or something, right? Like he just kind of didn't give a shit.
Yeah. He didn't give a crap. It was really funny. And he just like pretty much said what every American outside of Hollywood wanted to say at the end when he basically said like, shut up about your political opinions. Just accept your stupid award, thank your agent and your God, and get the fuck out. Like nobody cares.
Just accept your award as a rich person already.
Yeah. I think
and then shut up about politics.
I think the joke was he was like, you are in no position to educate the world on anything. Like you've been in, like it was something like you've been in school just as long as like Greta Thunberg or something. It was like the greatest joke where he's like, you have no idea what the real world is, and you have no platform to stand on to like tell Americans what they should and shouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I love
yes,
that.
dude. Like that's what everybody is thinking.
You just need a straightforward Brit to come in and just tell it how it is.
Yeah. By the way, like the creator of like one of the most popular, if not the most popular show of all time. So he's like, nobody can give him crap because he's like, I've destroyed the game. So
yeah.
But anyway, so it used to be. So the big story for this year was that the Emmys actually went up. It went up like by like 17% after last year. Yeah, after last year. It's still low. It's still very low.
Yeah.
So it could just be an anomaly that maybe people were not watching award shows even more so because of the pandemic. Mm. I don't know what the argument for that is though, because like weren't people watching more television? Yeah. And they had less things to do other than to watch the Emmys in the pandemic. So
where would you watch it? Like, because I didn't watch it, but where was it broadcast? Was it?
I think it was like ABC or something maybe. I could be wrong on that.
I feel like the Oscars, some of the other ones have been steadily declining.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, and this one was following the same trend. Perhaps there's just so many shows coming out that there's just some people that are more invested in some of the shows this time around.
Yeah. I think it's that. I think it's also that just like there's so much content now that like I don't think people are invested in a specific show the way they used to. Like when you'd watch Friends, you were like watching Friends, or even like, I don't know, Game of Thrones, for instance. You were like emotionally and like sometimes physically invested in Game of Thrones for like 2.5 months, 3 months. Like I remember peak Game of Thrones, like I pretty much couldn't think about anything else other than Game of Thrones. For like
You're
3
looking
months.
forward to Sunday so you can watch the next episode.
It like actually drove me insane. Like on Monday, being like, I can't believe I have to wait 6 days for the next episode.
College wasn't that
Like,
important back then.
yeah.
Game of Thrones is way more important.
Exactly. So like that culture is kind of gone now because there's so much content that like I don't think people just generally are as emotionally invested or care more about a specific show because they binge it and it's gone, it's out of your life. Even if it was a good show, you're like, cool, that was a good show, and then you move on to the next show.
Well, it's just that there's so many different channels and there's no communal feeling around it anymore.
Communal feeling. You're not watching with friends.
Yeah.
So like people just aren't invested in it, and as a result, they don't care about the celebrities really behind it. You know, like, oh, they're cool, but like, you know, they're just actors.
I think for Ted Lasso, which sweeped it, right?
Yeah, Ted Lasso did great.
It has like almost a religious fan base. So that one I think was kind of expected, right?
That one was better. It's definitely, and that one I think, I don't know. I've been watching it, and I know you haven't watched it yet, and you should. But it's actually like really not that great. I mean, it's good, but it's very like, it's very basic. Like it, but the thing is that it's very like heartwarming and like, it's very heartwarming and like nice and like it makes you happy.
Okay.
And I think the reason why it's popping off is it's a good show, but it's not like. It's not amazing. I'm not belly laughing, when I watch
the timing,
it.
Right?
I think it's the timing.
Feel good.
It makes you feel good during the
In a
pandemic
time,
when like everything's crap.
Right.
And so you can watch it and like feel good after you watch it. And you're like, this is hitting me different because like I just feel good after watching it. But I was thinking about this like last night when I was watching it. Like it's really not like I was like I haven't really laughed. It's not really that funny.
Really?
No. It's. I mean, you'll have to let me know. But like, I haven't like belly laughed like I do like when I was watching like, Friends or How I Met Your Mother or something, or The Office. Yeah, where I would like burst out laughing.
Right.
Like It's Always Sunny or South Park. Like those shows are like literally they drop moments where I'm like laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Versus this show, I'm not really. I just kind of have like a small smile on my face.
Do you know who the writers are, or is it?
I don't.
Yeah.
Of Ted Lasso? I don't know. I think Jason Sudeikis had a role because that was based on a YouTube video he made. It was either a YouTube or an SNL skit he did.
Yeah,
where he was like an American football coach.
I feel like that was
that.
like they're just like high one night and they're like, you know what? Has someone made fun of the fact that like football means two different sports in two different countries?
Oh yeah,
and they're like, no, I don't think so. All right, we got to make a show about it.
Yeah.
And then Apple's like, yep, sure.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and then I think it's about time. So I grew up in Australia, right? So for a majority of my life, I considered football like soccer.
Right, as does the rest of the world.
Yeah, as does the rest of the world. But when you come to America, you follow American norms. And then so when I said football, and they're like gridiron football, I was like, no, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always been weird because when I was in Hong Kong, when I was in Australia, if you called football soccer, like you get shit for it. Like they're pretty.
Oh, like anywhere outside, especially in Australia.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty like almost like belligerent about it. Like that's just it. They're
just
so
wrong.
big on the football. Yeah.
I mean, it makes more sense.
Yeah. So when I leave the U.S., I never call it soccer ever.
Interesting.
I'm very, very conscious about that. But
yeah.
But what about the winners this time around?
So Mayor of Easttown, I think, won a couple, which was a pretty good show.
Yeah. Did you watch all of it?
I honestly didn't finish it.
Yeah, I started it too.
It definitely wasn't like. I don't know, man. I don't know why I didn't finish it, to be honest.
It had like the same problem that I felt like the flight attendant had, where
didn't finish that one either.
I didn't finish that one, so I started watching it because it had like someone very like famous and well respected leading it, right? So you got like Kate Winslet,
Katie,
right?
Not Winslet.
No.
You're talking about Mayor
of Easttown.
Mayor of Easttown is Kate Winslet. Yeah.
Okay, so Kate Winslet, and then for flight attendant, that's Kaylee Cuoco. So
that's
it's headed by 2
Yeah.
stars.
Yep.
But their characters are just not people that I don't think people rooted for, right? Like I didn't really necessarily liked the main characters for either of the shows. Like I know they're supposed to be demonstrated as like flawed, and then they kind of overcome it. But I guess like through the course of several episodes, and you just saw them as kind of like, like there's not that many redeemable qualities. So I don't think I was invested in it as much. So like I started it was okay, didn't finish it.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I never ended up liking their characters really.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of the point. Like you're supposed to create somebody maybe you don't like at the beginning, but eventually like you come to like them.
Yeah.
But they're also like kind of a pacing issue, right? Like if it takes too long, but eventually I'm like, all right,
that is a pacing issue. Yeah.
You know, so I don't know how you fix that. But it's also like there are some shows that just end up capturing my attention, and there are some shows that I watch and then I just end up playing on my phone, and then I look up and I'm like, crap. And then I just like, I'll watch it eventually, and then. Yeah, I miss
nowadays. I mean, you're competing against immediate gratification of scrolling through like TikTok or something. Right?
It's literally an addiction. Yeah. So like you have to create something that like is good enough where I'm putting my phone down and like not picking it back up again.
Yeah.
For like, I mean, a lot of these shows like 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Yeah. Unless you're really giving my attention, like there's very little. There are very little shows that can really make me put down my phone and not do it again.
HBO shows can do that for me.
HBO shows. White Lotus did that for me, which you should watch. It's very good.
Yep, still on my list.
And that one's easy. That one's like 6 episodes, but that one is very kooky. It's very interesting. That one I put down my phone. And I don't know what it is. I can't describe it. It's just like
they're
certain
making a lot of
stuff.
Yeah, they're making a lot of those like 6 episode series. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Like,
yes, they are.
There's that one, Chernobyl, and then. There was the Hugh Grant one that was really good. The Undoing.
Oh, yes, that was really good too. That one also
great.
Another one that made me put down my phone. That one was really good.
6 episodes, short and sweet.
Yep,
that's the key.
Yep, and I think then part of the reason for that too is that I think like nobody really gives a crap about syndication anymore, right? So like you used to want to create like 100 episodes, so you reach syndication. You'd license it to all these TV channels and you make a crap ton of money. Now that syndication is pretty much impossible and you don't even want it anymore. Like, so there's no goal of trying to make 1 billion episodes, right? So you kind of want to just tell one story and you don't know if you're going to get renewed. So like, there's also that issue, especially with like a Netflix, for instance, who's churning out all this content. If your show doesn't perform in one season, so if you're trying to tell a story over the course of multiple seasons, you know, maybe it doesn't pick up until like 2 or 3. Like a good one is Schitt's Creek. Have you ever watched Schitt's Creek?
Yeah, I watched the first season.
Great one. You should finish it. It's really good. Yeah. But Schitt's Creek really, it starts slow. So like it starts slow. Like I don't think it gets amazing.
Probably why I paused it.
Yeah. So it does. I don't think it really gets amazing until like maybe 2 or even 3. But the weird part about Netflix, and this is the reason why like I don't like what Netflix has done in the industry, is that Schitt's Creek probably wouldn't have survived on Netflix. Like it probably would have been released 1 season, maybe 2 seasons. People were like, this is all right. Like it's fine. And then Netflix would be like, it's not enough for us. We're just going to find a new show. And they wouldn't have created the 3rd, 4th, and 5th season that made it amazing. You know? So it's interesting, like...
So I think that to play devil's advocate for that, Netflix actually bought the rights to like seasons 3 or 4 or whatever, like the subsequent.
First, yeah. So they bought the first 3. Sorry, what they did was they bought the streaming rights. So it was still airing on Pop TV.
Oh, okay.
So it aired on Pop TV all 1 through 5, and then but it didn't have a streaming home, I don't think. Or if it did, it was something like obscure. Yeah. And then in season 3, Netflix was like, we'll pick it up and we'll put the whole library on Netflix. And that's how it became popular. So that's the counter argument is Netflix kind of contributed to its popularity in that way.
I think the question is like, when does Netflix actually help a show versus when are they stifling the actual storytelling?
Right. Yeah. So some of its best shows are the ones they pick up after like multiple seasons, so that when people find them, they watch like the first 3, and like that by that point the show's gotten like it's kind of picked up steam and it's good. So then it's good. But like another example is Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai was on YouTube for like 3 seasons. Yeah. And like Netflix,
nobody watched it.
Nobody watched it, right? Nobody watched it. It came on Netflix and then everybody watched it. And that's great, right? Netflix like was able to create that cultural phenomenon with Cobra Kai. However, if it started on Netflix, it probably wouldn't have gone to season 3. That's the problem. That's the interesting like dilemma, because Netflix probably wouldn't have really gotten its stride.
They're definitely aware of that problem. right?
They have to
That's
be.
why they're
They have to
spending
be.
so much on these deals, and I mean, I think the segues nicely into the next story with the deal with Roald Dahl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Roald Dahl.
Good transition. Good transition.
Thank
yeah.
you. Is it Roald? Ronald.
Dude, it's not Ronald.
It's definitely not Ronald.
Everybody makes it has to be like Roald, like
Roald.
Roald Dahl. I don't know.
Okay. So,
Everybody has this problem. There's no way we're. Everybody
so
has this problem.
that deal and all the other deals is that they're just spending so much on existing IP.
Yeah.
Because I think they just have a terrible record of bringing something completely new and it just bombing, and then they're just like canceling it. But at the same time, they're not giving any of these properties a chance to kind of like breathe or come into their own. Right?
Exactly.
So,
That's the issue I have.
Yeah.
Is that right? I think they can, like, if they have like a big, it's like Bridgerton came out, that was pretty big, but that's because they had Shonda Rhimes behind it, right? So like that helps a lot when you have a big showrunner and that people know. Some people know. I mean, there's probably plenty of people who watch Bridgerton and have no idea who Shonda Rhimes is, but like you have that, and like that can sometimes break through like all of their content sometimes. Like, but the thing with Netflix is that they have so much content, but the problem is, and I think they are starting to realize this, is that because there's so much content, nothing's breaking through. So like nobody's talking about Netflix shows really because everyone's watching different Netflix shows. Yeah. So nothing really like breaks through the ceiling. But HBO Max shows are, and Apple's TV, like Ted Lasso, is. So it's possible, but Netflix has so much content. Yeah. Like nobody's really watching the same thing, so nothing pierces the cultural zeitgeist, which is like how you really establish yourself as an entertainment company. Like Disney would be nothing without Mickey Mouse. You know, like you have to have these properties that break through.
There's two strategies, right? So Netflix had a great product, and then now they're trying to get the best content on there.
Right.
And then HBO is the exact opposite, right? Their product is shite, and I think most people would agree that it's shite.
Yo,
it doesn't work.
Can we talk about, like, just for a quick second, why in the flying fuck HBO Max and Hulu and what's the other one that I've been just so pissed with?
They just don't work well.
They just suck.
Yeah.
Disney Plus. It's so hard. Like when an episode ends to get to the next episode.
Oh yeah.
And then when I'm like logging back in and I'm like, oh, there's a new episode of like, I think it was I watch Bill Maher sometimes and that airs on Fridays, so I'll watch it on Sunday. And I'll click on the Bill Maher episode that I watched the week before, and it goes to the end of that episode. I'm like, no, the next episode. And I can't find the list of the new episodes. And then when I get to the list of new episodes, it's all the way at the bottom instead of at the top. And I'm like, these are problems that are so easy to frickin' solve because all you need to do is look at Netflix and just be like,
copy that one.
You don't even need, you don't need to figure it out. Like Netflix has done all the work for you. Yeah. Just copy it. I don't know why. Nobody.
The thing is,
they don't care.
Yeah, well, they don't care, but they're also like they're playing a catch-up game, right? So the only way that they're getting to this level is by essentially poaching ex-Netflix people and having them kind of bring their expertise over. So they're
technical people.
They're technical people.
Yeah, product people, not their content people.
Which is really interesting because their product is going to steadily get better. Like I think HBO Max is like starting to get a little bit better now. Same with Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
But then Netflix on the other side, they're losing their technical people.
Yep.
And they're putting so much more into the creative side.
Right.
So like I know people that work at Netflix right now that's saying that the internal culture is changing because there's like less of a Silicon Valley like technical culture now.
They're trying to get more into the storytelling.
They're becoming more of a studio, and that's the way that they're investing their money.
That's what they should be doing, for sure.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to meet in the middle. Both strategies are trying to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think HBO started like better than I expected.
Yeah.
Right. Like the product sucks, but the content is so good that you're willing to look past the shitty UI and the bad experience for the good content.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll tell you, because I'm not going to disclose the company I work for, but the company I work for has a small streaming platform, and I can see the jumps. Like when there's like really like popular content that goes on the platform, you can see the big jump. Like obviously churn goes up because people watch and then they cancel. But the rating, I mean, when you have popular content, like content that a lot of people like, it's huge for your platform.
Yep.
So like Netflix, like quantity, like will keep people there, but you really want quality. And that's going to like really define what the platform is now that everybody pretty much has a streaming platform now. Yeah. That's why HBO is just constantly killing. Well, I don't know why they're just very good at identifying good stories, and they just have they're just very good at that industry. They just understand the industry.
Yeah, you can't really define that. That's like old Hollywood doing their stuff.
Yeah, and I think finally Netflix is starting to realize. I feel like Netflix always thought they were better than Hollywood. They were like, no, we can do it probably just as good as Hollywood. We just need to find the right people. Like, we'll find them. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then we'll just let them do what they want. But I think it's two things. I think, they need to figure out, like, and maybe they're starting to figure this out, but, like, how to work with creative people, not only to find the right creative people, but also to, like, nurture those. Because I think there is something to be said about not just, like, giving them money and just let them go, but also having people at the company that know how to create good stories and how to produce and can help people make good content. Yeah. Like, not just like, here's the money, go off and do your thing. It's actually, here's the money, and it'll also help you create the story.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening now at Netflix, which is good.
I wonder how their performance is measured, right? Because their overall deals are like, here's like $500 million for however many years, right?
Dude,
are they supposed to make 6, 7? Like
I don't
how
think
do they measure
anything, dude? I don't think there's anything. Honestly, I think they're just throwing out stupid money to like break into the market and just capture as much market share as possible.
That's drunken sailor spending, though.
100%. But that's what Wall Street rewards, man. Like that, it's nuts. Like if you think Ryan Murphy was worth $500 million for that stupid, absolutely not, dude. His shows have been mediocre at best, and not that many people watched them. Like, I think Netflix is just throwing. I think they're starting to get better at content like selection and curation, but like they're just throwing stupid money because Wall Street's giving them stupid money, and there's like quantity. Like I think one of the funniest things, and like no offense to Scott Stuber at all, who's the movie studio head at Netflix, but he like came in, he's like, I'm gonna create this dope new studio, and like, look, 30 years ago, if you were Paramount, you released like what, 12, 15 movies a year. Your job was defined on how good those 12, 15 movies did in the box office. And that you had like 12, 15 shots, right?
Right.
Scott Stuber's releasing a movie every freaking week. So like, it's not really that hard to be a new studio executive when you're greenlighting everything. Yeah. And if one movie does badly, like, all right, we'll figure it out next week. Well, your job's not defined by one particular or like a couple of movies.
Nor will everyone even know, right? I mean, their data on this is still proprietary, so it's not like they're gonna say like 40 out of 50 movies are absolute flops.
Yeah, dude, they were like, what was it? Ted Sarandos said that Enola Holmes, that movie came.
The Millie Bobby Brown one.
The Millie Bobby Brown one. He said that one had like whatever many views, and it had the cultural impact of $1 billion movie. Like it like pierced the zeitgeist, and people resonate with it as much as $1 billion movie.
Have you seen a single person who's seen it?
No. Not only has nobody talked about that movie, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
But if you want a comparison, if you want a comp for that, the first Harry Potter got $1 billion in revenue. Is he saying Enola Holmes is as popular as the first Harry Potter was when it came out? That's absolute dog shit. Okay, he doesn't believe that. So there's no way.
This is what most tech and maybe even like strategy companies would do, right? They'll pick the data that supports their story.
Right. Even though
they got
no
shit tons
Ted
of it,
believes that's true.
Right? They got many servers of data that can support that. But there's no other like apples to apples comparison, so they can just throw that number and basically say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why
of course.
Right. That's why like I'm not going to trust. Like Nielsen's going through some crap because nobody relies on them. But you do kind of need that independent auditor, and like that's what kind of held media companies accountable. Like the box office and Nielsen ratings, like those were the two things where like your performance was public, like, and that was kind of great for the industry because it forced forced you to own your failures,
Well,
and it forced you to own your failures and recognize your failures,
Yeah.
and pivot. Versus Netflix can just throw money, and there'll be a ton of shows that fail, quote unquote, but it fails based on their own standards, and they can pivot the story, which they're always going to do.
Yeah.
To make it look good, or they're not going to talk about it. So if they don't talk about it, then you're like, oh, it must have been pretty bad.
Yeah, the aggregators are the new data collectors, right? Like I think that's why companies like Roku have like bought a whole piece of Nielsen and all that, because they can actually see all the transactions that are occurring through their devices. And so if you can have all the aggregated data together, then you can kind of start to see who's performing better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the industry needs that. Like,
Yeah,
I think people need that.
they definitely need that.
I think people need that because whether like streamers like it or not, like people definitely look at the box office and they see if something's big at the box office. Normal people, they'll be like, I'm going to go to the movies to see whatever at the top of the box office.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, people used to look at the ratings. I don't know how much people don't really anymore, but
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that helps it helps regular people figure out what's good. So when Netflix is not sharing that data, people don't know what's good.
Yeah.
People want to watch what's popular.
I wonder like what the regulatory, and maybe other people can tell us, but like what's the regulatory requirements around how do they perform or report the performance of these things? Because
I don't think there is any.
Well, it's weird because, okay, so in a normal company that has public filings, right, they have to report their revenue drivers or what is driving their business, right? And if the product that Netflix makes is content, then don't they have a fiduciary duty to report the performance of each specific product? Or like
they just report the financial statements, man. They just report subscriber revenue. That's it. They do not disclose any of their viewership data.
They disclose like ARPU, right?
They'll disclose ARPU. I don't even think they need to do that. I think you can figure it out because they have to report the revenues and they give you subscriber data. So you can figure out the ARPU. But not all streaming platforms report ARPU. Not all streaming platforms report subscriber numbers.
Yeah.
Well, Discovery's not really.
That's probably why they don't, because if they're just reporting ARPU, right, then they're really looking at everything in aggregate. So they're basically saying, overall,
that's exactly what Netflix
our
does.
content has like increased engagement by a specific amount, but it doesn't really matter how they got there. The ends justifies the means.
No, Netflix's profit driver is simply just keeping subscribers. So even if they drop a load of crap, as long as subscribers are still staying on the platform and they're still making money, their shareholders are happy and nobody cares about what's actually going on. But they are not. They have no fiduciary duty to show you how much.
That can only last for so long, though. Like it's going to be. I mean, they've reached the end of their journey in the U.S. and now they're looking at international, right? So the other companies are going to start to catch up in the U.S. and they're going to follow the same path. They're just like blazing the trail, but at some point there's going to be like
there has to be a change,
a convergence.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a convergence at some point. I have to believe. I don't know though. Like there are 4 or 5 platforms that are happening now, like working now, and like it's fine. I think now I don't think anything's going to change until the NFL decides to go streaming. And until the like March Madness, like the big sports events, once they finally leave linear television, everything's going to crap. Yeah. That's like the only thing that's holding up linear television right now. If once they go, then everything goes to crap. Everything goes downhill. Like, so I think that's going to be the next like evolution of where media is going to go.
Yeah.
Is when that happens.
It's going to be Disney's time at that point because they own ESPN, who is like acquiring all sports rights basically, like all of them up through like 2030.
Well, so this is so this is why I think this is where Netflix gets effed, because if you imagine if Amazon gets like I think Amazon's competing for NFL Red Zone. If Amazon gets NFL Red Zone and like Peacock has the capability to do live broadcasts, right? And Apple or all the other platforms do. Netflix has never live streamed anything, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So they're not prepared to do it. They might be prepared to do it, and it's just in the back burner, but they've never done anything live before. Versus you have all these companies that have they have experience broadcasting live events, whether it's online or if it's on cable. They have experience doing it. So when sports and more live stuff eventually start coming, and by the way, people forget this, but like streaming is still only about 30%, 35% of all TV viewing. Like most of it is still linear television, and it's still a lot. The NFL and March Madness is pretty much like the one, but even there are some smaller leagues like the Premier League is there's a couple opportunities in sports, but
the Premier League is pretty huge too.
Yeah, Premier League is huge. So, but not as big as the NFL in the U.S. though. But my point is like that's a huge audience. So Netflix, I think, is under the assumption that once, like when people quit linear television, they're going to go to Netflix and they're going to capture all that market. So like, oh, we have plenty of room in the United States. 60% of the market still watches linear television. And they assume that everybody who still has linear television is going to go to Netflix, when in reality, they're going to want a similar experience to what they were watching with linear, which is going to be on Amazon or it's going to be on anything that has this.
Do you know
but
if
Netflix isn't going to have that.
has ever like publicly stated whether or not they don't want to do linear television or linear broadcasting for like news and sports?
Yeah.
They have specifically said that.
Yeah. They have said they don't want it. They're not at this time. But not recently, and they're totally willing to change. Like Netflix used to be, in my opinion, maybe 2-3 years ago, very stringent, like absolutely not. We're not doing anything besides, what they're doing now, like one price, subscription, all you can eat. We're not doing ads. Like we're not messing with our platform in that way. We're not doing anything like that. The only thing they experimented with kind of was Bandersnatch with the live interaction stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're like, no. But now in the last few years, they're getting way more creative because I think they're starting to realize they need to diversify their business because these competitors are coming in and producing pretty much just as good of a product, especially if you weigh like HBO's better quality and Netflix's better platform. Like they even themselves out quality-wise overall. So Netflix is like, crap. First mover advantage is not like Google. Like we don't have network effects, so it's not that significant. Well, so now they're like, okay, let's get into video games and let's do live experiences. Like they're trying to. Yeah. Now they're starting to like. Now I can see the pieces starting to crumble a little bit because they're doing other stuff.
I will say I think and we can also end on this. We're almost an hour now, right?
Oh yeah.
I think the value of Netflix and why they're different was they were cultivating a culture of innovation within their company, but that like technology innovation type of culture I think is slowly going to be phased out as they focus more on content. Yeah. Right? Like they're just not going to be able to keep up that investment in like paying top dollar for these engineers if they have to pay like hundreds of $1 million for creators.
They're becoming a studio.
Yeah. And like gossip I've heard is that like slowly like what's his name? Reed Hastings is on his way out, and he has been for some time. He has been for some time. I think he's just it's just his time to retire. Right?
His book tour.
But then but then Ted Sarandos is pretty much just a Hollywood content guy, right? So that's just where the company is going to go without Reed at the helm, who pioneered this company. It
makes sense that he was co-CEO, so they're like kind of split. I'm sure he's slowly kind of just giving.
He's just phasing out,
most of the responsibilities, which I get. But I think that's the right move for Netflix because they have to. The platform is definitely great, but we were crapping on Netflix. I mean HBO and Hulu before for their platforms. It's annoyed me, but it's never prevented. It's never like I've never had trouble and be like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to Netflix. Like it's never been that bad. Like content is king. It really is. I used to not think that. I mean, it's like, oh no, data is king. I used to like not think that way. Yeah. But now that all of the streaming platforms are out and now they're all really directly competing each other, I'm like, it's still content. Content's still the thing that's driving me to pick each one.
When I first learned about how Netflix was killing the game and they were doing it through data, I was like, data is king.
Yeah, I was like,
now that they're investing in content, well, maybe content is king. We're just gonna follow them.
I used to. It's funny. So me and Erica Jackie, one of our friends, we still do this, but she's a huge Netflix bull, and she's still under the impression, and I just love giving her crap, but she used to have that same opinion that because Netflix has so much data, they can make better content decisions because they have so much data, they know what people are watching, that their content overall is going to be better.
Yeah.
And I used to think that way, but now it's just like I don't think that's the way because, well, I think people with content with YouTube, it's different. With YouTube, yeah, I kind of like that I'm kind of in my own ecosystem. There are type of short videos that I want, but with long form content, I'm kind of I think this is what most people like. I don't know what I'm gonna like until I see it. And oftentimes I don't like the same thing that I watched before. Like with long form storytelling, I like stuff that's different.
Yeah.
With YouTube, like YouTube's a different story.
Yeah.
And with TikTok, that's a different story. But with long form storytelling,
It's different. Yeah.
Nobody was going to be like, I wish Star
never
Wars would
thought of
come
it that
out, and
way.
then Star Wars came out. Like
people
watched Star Wars. They didn't know they wanted Star Wars until it happened. And you were like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I do think Netflix does take their data and try to fill holes.
Yeah.
They definitely do that.
They
But
did
I
with House of
think-
Cards.
Yeah, but I do think that that at some point people understand that this is kind of like they're just trying to fill a hole, and it's kind of shallow in a sense, like it was forced.
Right.
And that's what causes people to not like. So, for example, like that Jupiter sending thing. Did you watch that on Netflix?
No.
It was like their attempt at like a Marvel type thing.
And that's by the way one of the reasons why I fully believe that Netflix's data is actually not helping them create popular content because they've had these huge misses, like ones that you can't defend. So that one, for instance, I think that was 9 figures.
Yeah.
For one
huge.
season, and then they canceled it in maybe it was 2 weeks. So no. There's no way Netflix was like, yep, that's what we wanted to do with that show.
Well,
no,
they
that
were
was a
trying
flop.
to copy something that was already popular, and I think people saw through that. You can't just copy whatever is popular because people are going to see it as a discount version of something.
That's
right?
what they've been doing.
You have to be original.
They did that
You
with
have to be original.
They did that with it was like a Narcos. What was they did a show that wasn't Narcos, but it was very similar. I think it was Marco Polo.
Oh, the Genghis Khan one?
Maybe they did like 2 seasons.
The super expensive one. Yeah, that's Marco Polo.
I think it was
Yeah.
Marco Polo.
Yeah, it was the Game of Thrones version of what they
exactly.
were going for.
But
yeah.
I think they were trying to do something like Game of Thrones, something like Narcos, and it flopped.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think it's people being like, I've seen this already, man.
Yeah.
And so Netflix is
It's just,
they're
I've
relying
seen
too
this.
much on data. They're relying too much on data.
They're 2 years later, basically.
So that's why I don't think The Witcher was as successful as they're going to say it is.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it that much, but that's my own personal bias.
I didn't like it too.
Yeah,
I'll be
I don't
honest,
think
I didn't
it was that. And also, you watch it and you're like, dude, this is Game of Thrones, man.
Yeah.
You're copying the same thing, and people see that.
People see that.
You can like literally watch it, and you're just like, I know what the conversation in the room was. There's like, let's create our next Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And that's why I worry also about. I'm intrigued by Amazon's Lord of the Rings play, because I think the budget for the first season is legit $200 million.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid.
I'm
Like, I can't
100%
even-
certain that that's going to be amazing. I'm
You think it's gonna be
100%
good?
certain It's going to be amazing.
I am cautiously optimistic. They said they brought back like one of the original composers like, from the movie series, so I'm like, all right.
When I say amazing, I mean there's going to be a ton of people around the world that's going to watch that, and they're going to call it a success.
You think?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
curious.
we'll see. We'll have to learn more about it.
Yeah.
But
this is why I think Netflix and like the whole industry is becoming like a Ponzi scheme because it's freaking insane.
They're
like,
paying for the next one.
Like how
to get a
can you
little bit to pay for the
possibly?
next one.
Yeah, how could you possibly justify that budget? Like that's
Yeah.
insane, and you can't because they're just taking revenues they made from other business lines to fund
all
a
that
losing one.
underwear that people bought and all that money that they made off the underwear.
Yeah.
They're
And the
gonna
cloud,
throw it to
dude.
Content.
Amazon Web Services funds
Yeah.
funds that and pretty
Everything.
much the whole thing.
Yeah.
So then that's why another reason I'm concerned about Netflix is because they're competing against Amazon and Apple, whose streaming platforms are just like drops in the bucket. They could destroy Netflix, and they could buy Netflix.
Yeah.
But they could also just create their own Netflix internally and just crush them.
Oh, I'm sure there's been multiple meetings of like Apple trying to buy Netflix. I'm sure that's already happened many times. Yeah.
I'm sure. And then these tech companies are all very much like, let's just create our own thing, which is what most of these tech companies want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, but they just bought MGM.
Amazon did.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
it's still going through the regulatory approval, so we'll see if that.
which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what is the
They just
what is the
have to.
antitrust? Yeah, like what is the DOJ actually like?
Yeah. Well,
They're
I mean,
gonna own all
Amazon
studio content. What are
Amazon
you talking about?
going into any market becomes,
That's true.
Antitrust.
But they're already in the market. Like, you're just buying a studio that's tiny.
Yeah.
So,
Compared to that, but
Yeah.
storied studio
yeah.
of titles.
It's interesting.
All right.
All right.
Wrap it up there.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. But before we go, we got to do our daily recs
Okay.
or our weekend recs.
Did you watch anything interesting this past week?
Um,
Movie-wise.
Movie wise, I watched stuff. I'm trying to remember what I watched.
Yeah, I definitely watched a couple on the plane.
You go first.
Actually, I forgot.
You're not helping me out, man.
No, because usually on the plane I watch things that I've seen before. Oh! It was a scary movie. I watched A Quiet Place too. So
Ooh, I still haven't seen that actually.
you gotta watch it.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
All right, that one I've been meaning to see. That one and Free Guy. I'm dying to see Free Guy.
You have to see Free Guy before it's actually only in theaters, so you have to see it.
I know.
Before it goes
Which
out
I
of
like.
theaters.
Which I actually like. I do
Yeah.
really want to go to the theaters. There's also a lot of good movies coming out in October in this month.
Yeah, I'm excited.
There's like
Venom's
James
coming out.
Bond, Venom. I can't freaking wait for Dune. I'm gonna get big and dude, we should go. I'll text you when when I buy tickets because I want IMAX. I want an opening night or at least opening weekend. I want it in
dress
IMAX.
Yeah.
I literally have no idea what Dune is about. It's just perfect. It's not. It's based on existing intellectual property, but it's not super well known. Like it's based on a really good book series. It's by a very good director. Like very good cast.
It has a huge fan base already.
Huge fan base. It's pretty much it's kind of an original concept. Like yes, there was a Dune movie in like the 1980s, but I don't really. For me, like born in 1993, like I'm not. It's new.
Yeah.
It's new to me. So it's an original concept for me, from my perspective.
Yeah.
And
I told myself
it's
that
very exciting.
I told myself that I would read it before I watched the movie. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But,
So
other
yeah,
than that, no other recommendations though.
what I'm watching now is I'm watching Ted Lasso, and I'm watching a morning show came out, so I've been watching those, but they're weekly, which is interesting. So I'm like gonna have to teach myself how to watch on a weekly basis. Which
I do that with shows already. Actually, I limit it to one a week so that I don't get the feeling of like, oh crap, I just like finished it all and I have nothing to look forward to next week.
That's a good.
I did that with The Sopranos and some other shows. Yeah.
I gotta do that. I like it. I like the weekly releases, and I think Netflix is gonna start doing that. Honestly,
Disney's started doing that too.
Yeah.
I think they realized that to create a moment.
I watched Loki. That's what I did this weekend. I finally watched Loki.
Is it good?
It's actually great. I actually really liked it.
Oh shit!
I was impressed because it was one of those shows that I watched like the first 3 episodes. And I was like,
Well,
and then I rewatched
I never would have
it.
thought that like Loki as a like semi-side character can carry a whole series.
It's interesting because he can. It's very good.
All right.
I was genuinely impressed. I didn't come in with like super high expectations because I watched it and gave up. So this was like another shot at it. And that's when I realized that Disney Plus is just absolute garbage as a platform. But but the content
interface is still lacking.
Yeah, it was still very good. But recommendations that I have. So if you haven't watched Loki, I definitely recommend Loki. Sex Education season 3 came out. That I'm very excited about. I haven't watched yet, but that one I want to watch. And then Star Wars Visions came out today, actually.
Wait, which one is that?
That's so what they did was Is it Netflix? No, it's Disney Plus. Duh. Disney worked with like 7 or 8 anime studios in Japan, and they created like short stories.
Oh,
based on the Star Wars universe
Ooh.
from these studios, and it looks sick. And the reviews came in, and they're very good. So I'm pretty excited about that because I think anime generally tends to kill it from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah.
And from a just generally an action like art perspective, it's very impressive.
Well, Disney just knows how to reinvent their existing IP. Like that's such a great idea, right? Like have their Star Wars stuff, which they've done for. There's some shitty Star Wars movies, yes, but at least they tried to take it in a different direction.
I was gonna say the Star Wars movie begged to differ.
Yeah.
The new Star Wars movie is taking differ.
I don't even consider those Star Wars movies, to be honest. 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I think they massively. That's the only thing. Yeah, I honestly want them to remake them. Be like, I want Disney to just come out and be like, you know what, that's definitely screwed up.
Yeah,
those were really
not
bad.
Canon. We are going to do it again.
Yeah, just pretend like those movies don't exist and we're going to redo it.
Yeah,
It'd make them a ton of money, honestly, and I'd go see them. Like, honestly, that feels like a good business move. Just admit you messed it up and fix it. But you're right in that fact that like The Mandalorian was very good. And I'm cautiously optimistic about the other shows.
Clone War stuff.
Clone War's great.
Like they're able to continue it very well.
Yeah. So the anime thing, I'm very intrigued by, and it's got great reviews. So that's easy to watch. Like I think it's like 8 to 13-minute episodes, and there's like 8 of them.
Oh.
So very easy to watch too.
That reminds me of like the Love, Death, and Robots thing. Right, have you seen that on Netflix?
What was that? No.
So it's a similar concept. They have like all these different styles of animation studios that produced a like short film about some theme around robots in the future.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and there's like the first season was like 8 or 9, and they're each like 5 to 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it's a different animation style every single one.
Oh.
Yeah. So now that I think about it, it sounds kind of the fucking same.
It's very similar. Yeah. Because it is all anime, but like there's different studios, so they do anime differently. Like, it's really interesting. It's kind of the same. You should watch the trailer because it got me hyped.
Yeah. All right.
They're
very
good.
That right after this.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. This is
if
Theater BJ's.
Yeah. If any of you actually lasted to the end, let me know.
Right, yeah, honestly. In the comments, just let us know.
All right, man.
All right.
See ya.